I've been reading. I'm a Jesus girl. Hey, Jesus girl.
Hey y'all, it is Wednesday, so y'all know it's time for the Wednesday Word for Women show remix. Oh my gosh, I hope that you have found lots of love and laughter this week. I hope that today you woke up like ready to get out here and be great, killing it, regardless of who you have to go and be around or what you have to do, because we understand that we are people that control our attitude, reactions, and responses. That's on us. And the way we do that is we flip through the Rolodex of our mind. We grab those things to be grateful and thankful for. That way, our mood shifts and we put things in proper perspective, because that gratitude and thankfulness will do something in the wiring of our minds. It just makes you feel good, even in the midst of whatever it is. So it don't matter if I have to go somewhere I don't like. It's not, my optimal thing I'd like to do today, but I know that it doesn't have to kill my day. I might have to be around some people I don't particularly care for. We don't have affinity for each other, and that's okay. But I'm going to do what I showed up to do, and I'm going to do it well, and I'm going to enjoy myself while I'm there, regardless of what those around us are doing. You can be toxic and miserable over there by yourself, but as for me, I'm going to have a good day. Okay? So, have you ever said yes to something that you know you should have said no to? Now, because I know how some of y'all are. Let me qualify that. I don't mean no to something you just don't feel like doing. Like, I should getting up and getting on this treadmill, but I don't feel like it. Or I should apologize. But the way my mind is set up, they should just know that I feel apologetic. So they're just gonna have to take that. I know I probably should forgive it or let this go, but I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not talking about those things, y'all. Y'all know how we are. I mean those things that you are doing that you know you shouldn't be doing, that the expiration date has came and went, and you are still saying yes to a strong no. Not just a no, but a strong no. And just like if you drink some expired milk, you get food poisoning, and then symptoms will show up. Maybe a little diarrhea, a little stomach ache, a little nausea, vomiting, those things. Because sometimes if you are involved in or ingest something that is not good for you, that you shouldn't, it is poison to you. Let's bring that back to real life application. That means that relationship that you have outgrown. I didn't say you did some, but you have outgrown. You're going on two different paths. If you stay, somebody's going to start to have symptoms, and more than likely it is going to be the person who has outgrown, not the person who has not, because you will be required to stay at the level that you have outgrown to function in that arena, in that relationship, in that place. And so when we do those things, we harm ourselves. Or how about you have outgrown, you should be saying no to some, I'm gonna just take myself for an example, some habits that you had acquired. Now, at the time you picked up this habit, and it was a way to self-soothe, it was a way to self-medicate, it was what you used at that time to get through. But now you have outgrown that, and so if you keep into being involved in whatever that thing is, you are going to harm and stagnate yourself. Some of us have had to adopt some protective measures because of the lives we lived or the backgrounds that we had, and so we had to protect ourselves. And so we have some of those self-protecting remedies, or some of those self protective mechanisms that we use to get us from point A to point B, but now we're going to C, and but we're stuck at C because we're too weighed down by all the weight of what we had to do to manage, what we had to do to survive. It is keeping us from growing. It's weighing us down. And so when you stay past the expiration date in anything, when you're saying yes to something that you should say no to, there are going to be symptoms, and they're not going to be good. It's either going to be poison you, something you want to do, or those that are around you. And so we have got to find the power and the blessing in the no, y'all. It is 2021. It is time out of us being so fearful of getting a no and even giving a no. We're so fearful of getting a no because we somehow denoted to as little shorties. What's some of the first things you start doing? No, don't touch this. No, don't go there. So no has a negative connotation. No means that we can't get something that we want. And so we are so fearful of the no because we believe that we're not going to get something that we want. We're afraid to give a no, even if it's killing us, even if it is making us operate in a deficit. This yes we're giving when we know we should be giving a no, even though we are making someone codependent, even though we know we are playing into some kind of toxic pattern or behavior. We say yes because we don't want to be the one to say no, to be the bad guy. Meanwhile, the people that we are saying yes that we should say no to are stuck and stagnant, and we wonder why they're immature. We wonder why they can't make decisions. We wonder why they can't break out of this behavior pattern. It's because we are aiding them with our yes. Sometimes, y'all, it's got to be a no, and not just a strong a no, but a strong no, and sometimes even a hell no. You got to get the power of no in your spirit, y'all. I'm so serious. Understand that a no, boo-boo, is not designed to offend people or things. A no is designed to protect us and even the person that we have to say no to. Understand, whatever you say yes to, you are saying no to something. That's just the way it goes. Whatever you're saying yes to, you're saying no to something else. And so we've got to get comfortable in making those decisions. A no is not meant to offend. It's designed to protect, y'all, not just ourselves, but even those around us and those that we are tied to and connected to. Because the reality is, you don't get to tell people how to love and treat you. You get to see how they love and treat people or do a thing. And then you get to choose whether you will participate in that or not. When I was told that and taught that, it freed me from the core of my being. It used to be said that you treat people how to teach you. No. You can't control their actions. You can't control how they do what they do. But what you can control is if you're going to participate in that or not. You see the difference? That is just so lit. So when folks show you how they do what they do, who they are, and how they operate, you don't get to say, don't do that to me, but you do get to say, that don't work for me, boo-boo, and deuces, I'm out. Or deuces, we can't have this connection. Or deuces, we can't have this relationship. Or deuces, we can't do this thing. You feel me? So you have to understand that a no is not designed to offend. It is made to protect you and to protect those and things that are tied to you. I can remember, and I know everybody has a story of uh, the ramifications when you said yes when you should have said no. First of all, you're blocking the yes that whoever and whatever is that's supposed to be for. Let's just get that out the way. Some of us are just saying yes because of habit, or yes because we don't want nobody else to say yes to that thing, knowing that it is not for us, knowing that that thing is not what we should be involved in, knowing that job is not what we're supposed to have, knowing that relationship, that man, that woman is who we're supposed to be with, knowing all those things. But we're going to be selfish and we're going to say yes to it, keeping the person or the thing whose blessing it actually is away. Yes, we can do that, and we do that because we're so selfish. We won't let things go, knowing that I'm not the best person for you, so I'm going to let you go. No, we don't do that. We gonna stay. I'm gonna be miserable. You gonna be miserable. That's how we do, because we human, and we ratchet. Yes, we're the righteous in Christ, but we ratchet still, y'all. And so your yes is blocking somebody from their, in some cases, biggest blessing because of selfishness and pride. Or perhaps you can't do a thing anymore, and times have changed, and like it doesn't fit you anymore, but you gonna keep on trucking, keep on plowing along. Meanwhile, there's somebody that can do what you do more efficiently, do what you do more cost effectively, or do with what you do with more ease, and you wonder why you are stress ridden and you're all unhappy and you're bitter and miserable and trying to make everybody else around you like that. That's because perhaps, boo-boo, you are in a yes that you know good and darn well you should be saying no to. And so as we process through 2021, I hope, my prayer is that we get comfortable with no. There's a scripture I love so much in Matthew 5:37. It simply says, let what you say simply be yes or no. Anything more than this is evil. One translation says, I love this one, just a simple yes I will or a no I want. Anything beyond that is evil. It's from the evil one. So what that is saying is you're going to reap negative consequences if it should be a no and you say yes, and it should be a yes and you say no. You got to be firm in your word, and then you got to do the thing. So live out your no. If it's not a good look for you, you ain't supposed to be doing it, don't do it. Don't dip and dab back in and out because it feels good or everybody else is doing it or you just want to. No. Let your no be your no. And your yes, let it be a yes. But understand, every yes is saying no to something. But boo-boo, there is power and blessing in no. Have you ever wondered all the things you wanted, if you would have got it, what would your life look like? Because you thought it was a yes. And in hindsight, it ain't just 2020. Hindsight is gold. Like hindsight is like, thank you, Jesus, because had you got that yes, and you see it now, you'd have been like, whoa, I dodged a bullet. It's because we don't need everything we want. Every yes is not a yes. And if we would just take time, and if we would just really think about it, and if we would just really be in tune with what's going on inside of us, in our lives, what's our rhythms and patterns and goals, and what is it we're out here trying to do, it will make it so much easier to say these no's. No is freeing. No is powerful. No is a blessing. That's why there's such a thing called boundaries. That's why there's such a thing called limitation. And it started from the beginning of the thing. You know, he gave us the power to choose. Choose wisely, y'all. and let's free up and let's unclutter ourselves. No simplifies life. No puts things in crystal clear clarity. No's open us up to our best yeses. You guys be blessed and have a good week. I pray that you get lots of love, laughter, and light. And I pray that something will be done and said to know that you're not alone, that people care for you, and just know your girl, I'm a fan of you, and I'll be praying for you. Bye-bye.
Hi, Pastor Champagne. Thank you for allowing me to ask my question today because I'm actually a little bit confused. So my concern is about what's happening with the way the school district, our local inner city school district, is handling things as far as working with the parents during the pandemic. The teachers are doing a wonderful job. They are all working super hard and working overtime to make sure that our students are capable of learning and learning remotely. And my son is actually in kindergarten, and he actually attends a general education as well as a special education class. So we are managing both of those things from home. So what is happening is, and this has started, it comes from clear back at the end of October when my son was exposed to a person who tested positive for COVID. So I let the school know that, and that we would be quarantining. And before I knew it, I was getting messages about how we are not allowed to just make that decision on our own as parents to quarantine our children when they come in contact with someone who tests positive for COVID. So they told me that I had to have a doctor's note for someone else testing positive. So I called the doctor and I told the doctor's office this, and they referred me to the hotline, which is the county hotline, the county health department's hotline, which basically says exactly what we all know. When you come in contact with someone who tests positive, you go ahead and you just quarantine for 2 weeks. So I was only quarantining just to make sure he didn't present symptoms and that it wasn't a problem, which to me is protective. So I informed them that the doctor's office referred me to the hotline because they said I need the advice of, I needed medical advice to be able to make that decision and keep him from school. At this time, because his class was so small, he was able to attend in person. So that became a back and forth because the doctor's office was just like, here's the advice, and the school would not accept that as good enough. And so as I began to tell them my struggles about my son's diagnosis and the challenges and the delays he has and how difficult it is for us to manage and how everything is just kind of a lot and super overwhelming, then they're like, okay, well, you know what, we'll go ahead and excuse this, it's perfectly fine, but we basically can't trust parents to make this type of decision because then we're going to have people taking advantage of it. So now I'm being lumped into a group of people who they would consider just, you know, kind of lazy. I just don't feel like sending my child to school or getting them dressed or whatever it is that they think we're doing here in our homes when our kids don't come. And it wasn't that I didn't inform them. It was that they told me I couldn't make this choice. Okay, so now we're dealing with the parental rights issue. And when I would speak to others on this topic, the way they tried to make sure I was handling this well, I guess, was by comparing this to, well, if you're sick and you don't go to work for a couple of days, you have to get a doctor's note. But my issue is I don't work for these people. I don't work for the school. My understanding is that the school system is in place to work for us, to help us be able to educate our children, because we're not all capable of that. This is why we love teachers. This is why we have teachers, because they are capable of doing something that I personally am not skilled at, which is educating my child. You know, and so to me, there's no comparison there. You can't compare those two things because this is not my employer. I don't work there. Okay, this is all about me not being free to make choices for my own son. Okay, so after that discussion with the school and them, you know, kind of in passing, because I'm a reasonable person, it's easy to talk to me, telling me that basically we don't trust the parents and we don't want people taking advantage of this. We gotta, you know, and I get the need to try and make sure that the attendance of the children is, you know, still at a level where they can be successful. I do understand that, you know, but then we moved on to now I'm receiving text messages about truancy. So I called because I was informed that we no longer had to worry about the dates where I chose to quarantine my son after his exposure. So the response to me was, well, there are 2 unexcused absences on his list. So now I'm being messaged about being on the flagged for truant, for my son being flagged for truant because of only 2 unexcused absences. Now, this is all just this school year. This all happened back in October, and, so when I realized it was just 2 unexcused absences, I remember those days because of the things that go on in my son's body. When he is sick, he gets to the point where quite often he just can't really get up. And I've talked to the doctor about this. This is something the pediatrician is aware of, that we have worked together on. It's not something that I'm just handling in the dark and don't tell anybody about and don't ask for help on. When my son gets sick, he gets very lethargic and oftentimes can't even get up. If he tries to walk, he can only take a few steps and he'll just kind of melt and crumble down to the floor. It only happens a handful of times throughout the school year or throughout the calendar year. So I knew the days they were referring to because it's rare. So what happened on those days, and I told them this, what happened on those days basically was just that he just crumpled and I wasn't able to get out from under him to go do anything. So I just had to lay there long enough with him for him to, at least for me to be able to move and him stay asleep or something of that nature. And by the time I was able to inform the school, it was past, basic attendance time. And if you don't hit that at the right time of day or get your attendance report in on time, basically your child is marked unexcused absence for the day. So, which now I am aware of that because of the previous school he went to in the same school district. Mind you, I have not received any type of correspondence or policies or anything like that given to me as far as how they deal with attendance. And everything was super crazy and hectic at the beginning of the school year, so a lot of stuff really wasn't handled until later in the fall when this stuff started coming up. I was also, having to take in like immunization records and his physical and things that we just, because everything was so nuts, it didn't get dealt with at the beginning of the school year. So, and so basically now during a pandemic when all parents are having to go the extra mile, people are working from home or not working at all or trying to figure out how to manage one or several children's schooling from home when we're not educated in this ability, we're not skilled at this ability, and we're all just trying to make this work here. Everybody is feeling overwhelmed. Everybody is feeling nuts and crazy that this. But instead of showing more grace, now what I'm finding is that they are trying to tighten the reins around our necks because they are concerned that if they just let something slide or if they show some grace or something, that people are just going to not send their kids to school. So even if you feel like that, you have any type of like paper trail to prove that, now I am personally being lumped into this category with a whole bunch of people based on some stuff that I had nothing to do with, and so beyond that, now when we've gone to full remote, when my son's gone to full remote, if he has Zoom classes, 2 Zoom classes in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. If we miss one of those, instead of 1 unexcused absence for that because I was probably working or doing whatever it was we need to do, or he couldn't manage it or I couldn't manage it or whatever was happening, if I miss 1 out of the day, now I have like 3 to 5 line items in my email of unexcused for 1 unexcused. I've now emailed the principal to try and obtain an attendance policy for the school and for the district, as well as the attendance policy for what it's supposed to be with Zoom, because it was not told to me prior to whatever offenses we have now made. And so now there are threats of things going to the county over maybe 2 or 3 days spread out now. This is the whole from August clear to December this is going on. And so a handful of absences are now turning into truancy. And I looked up truancy because my understanding of truancy goes from back in the day when this was a real problem, when you start putting kids in juvie, and he's too young for that. So now what's going to happen? You're about to send the county sheriffs to my house because my son was sick? And so maybe I'm overreacting. That is totally possible. I could totally understand that if that's the case, but I'm just trying to get a little understanding. There's no correspondence, you're not communicating with me, and then I start getting a letter in the mail for truancy behind missing a couple of Zoom classes when I told the teachers I'm working and our attendance schedule is going to be spotty. because I work contract and freelance, and so there are moments when I can participate full out, and moments when we're going to struggle with that because he is not at a level where he can manage the Zoom himself. And so unless I am present and accounted for and 100% engaged, he's not going to be able to do that without me. So please help me understand if I'm missing something here, or if I'm just confused, or if I'm overreacting, or if I have a valid reason for being concerned about my rights as a parent in this situation.
That was a wonderful question, Tiffany. I did some checking, and first of all, I will say this. As a parent, it is the parent's job to protect the child. The parent is responsible for the child, any parent. And so as a parent sees fit to protect and be responsible for that child, that is my stance on that. Now, we do have some guidelines and some things that lines we can't cross, and some regulations we must follow. But ultimately, it is up to the parent to decide how they're going to be responsible for the child. Now, on top of that, we are now in a COVID era. We are in a pandemic when information fluctuates and changes so frequently. Sometimes from hour to hour, a parent then has to just choose what is the best route for the child. CDC does have some guidelines for COVID, particularly when you have been exposed to someone who has tested positive for COVID. So they have these guidelines, but then as a parent of a young child, it is, like you said, between the doctor and the COVID hotline. And so what we do is we go by what the COVID hotline says. When you call, give the scenario, they give you their recommendation. And so all protocols like that were followed. Now, when there is a disparity between the COVID hotline and the doctor, I believe you should, in these instances of COVID, follow the COVID hotlines recommendations, because they are the experts, and they have the most current information, and they know what's going on. And so we've got to understand that is what they do, and they are the expert. So we follow what they say. Third, you were talking about truancy. And so for 501, I did some looking. For 501, they leave it to the school to set up their attendance policies and their truancies. They have a standard, but then they leave it up to the particular school. And your particular school, I won't say it, but your particular school has a attendance policy and what they deem truancy. And I will read what your particular school's truancy policy is. It is 3 or more consecutive absences, 5 in a semester, and 7 in a year will result in truancy being filed and reported to the Board of Education. After 10 absences, we will request either a doctor's note or have the school nurse examine the child to consider letting the child be excused from school. So 3 consecutive unexcused absences, 5 in a semester and 7 in a year, will result in truancy being filed. I read through the policies and actually the 501 school board's policy, and they recommend, the principals are open They talk to a case by case. They work with the parent because it's a team here. I know that you've had some difficulties in that, but I would say go back, and especially armed with the information. And I actually sent you some information too, so that you can be informed of what exactly they're saying. So then you can go with what you have, and then hopefully you guys can come to some resolution. I know this is a hard time in this era we're in. It's all the kinks are not worked out. I understand that, and so please don't let this overwhelm you, and don't let it make you feel some type of way. Like people are using this COVID to just not care for kids. Well, we was caring for them before. COVID is not going to make us less care for them, but it's all just learning on the curb. And so the grace you are asking for, I pray that you extend it to them as well, because we're just trying to figure this thing out. And hopefully as you go back and you guys keep the lines of communication open, they will grace you. But by what you said, it does not fall into the criteria of what this policy says. And so I would answer, go to the school, keep going to the schools and the teachers, and see if you can work these things out. It seems like at the end of the day, you're not truant, and they're not even approaching you like that. There must be some type of problem, and you've been lumped into that. And so you clear that up. And I think that you guys can move forward. I hope that answered your question, and I hope the information I sent you helps. And we just need to help each other, support each other. What are some things anyone has done when you can't do the Zoom because you have to work, and you have special needs children? And so if there's anyone with any comments or any advice, please drop it in the comments. What are we all doing to try to help this attendance problem that we are having, in light of 1 week we in school, 1 week we're not, we're hybrid, the next we're all online. So like it's just fluctuating. And so first of all, let's know we're going to know we're going to get through this. But second, help each other for creative ways to do this, because we've never been here before. They've never been here before, and you haven't been here before. But I believe that if we continue to work together, if we continue to open the lines of communication and hear each other and be, like you said, extending grace, we will get through it. And our kids is going to be just fine. See y'all next week.
I'm a Jesus girl. I'm a Jesus